Yo, it's your boy H2O, and we back. Welcome to the New Balance Podcast. It's your potential conditioner, and I have with me my lovely co-host, Nicole Hickerson. What up?
What's up? How are you?
Man, I am on fire. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's 2022.
Man, 2022.
We made it.
We made it. 2022 is in the building, and it's a wonderful thing. Wonderful thing. So much promise, right?
Yes.
New beginnings. There's nothing like new beginnings, and we're excited about them. God has definitely blessed us, blessed our family,
Most
and
definitely.
we're just thankful on today. And I hope if you're watching, that your year is off to a great start. And we have some exciting things in store for you throughout the year. We'll be getting into them a little more, but we're here today, man, because we started this exciting series called Legacy.
Yes.
And this will be part two. And we jumped off and we kind of talked about, what do you thought legacy was?
Yeah.
And we took some time and we talked about that, and it was just great. Not just being on here; it's the fact that I'm on here with my mini me, and so I do this all the time. And we've been talking about doing a podcast for a minute, and it's so exciting to have her on with me. I do believe one day she's going to have her own studio, television, the whole shebang, right?
Yeah.
And so I can always look back and like, hey, I was the first one to have her on. So I'll always have those bragging rights, no matter, wherever you go from here, Fox, CBS, ABC, wherever that matter. I can always say, she was on the Heart of My Father production network first. So that's exciting for me.
Born into it, basically.
Born into it. You better know it. You better know it. So what's been up with you?
Just excited for the new year, just getting ready for school.
Right.
Preparing for graduation and then going off to college, as I mentioned in the last podcast. It's just this year brings new things than previous years, going to a different chapter in my life.
Yeah.
Just it's exciting what the future's holding for us, especially us as a family. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I I didn't necessarily plan to go this way with it, but you know, today today's question would be like, why is legacy important?
Yes.
And one of the reasons it's important is because you have to give the opportunity. You have to show um, hope. Like hope is such a critical thing in our life,
Yes,
right? You can have a lot of things, but when you lose your hope, man, you've lost something that's so tangible.
Yeah.
And hope is the gasoline that we all need. And when I asked the question, why is legacy important? You need to model it. I think legacy has to be modeled, right? It's more than just putting a plan together, which is very, very important. But if you don't model that plan, a lot of times it makes it really tough for the legacy to come in play.
Yeah.
I want to share something now that I hadn't done. You heard my daughter say she'll be leaving, for the fall semester for college, and I have no doubt that when it's all said and done, she's gonna walk across the stage and she's gonna hold up that college degree. She'll do something that I didn't do. Right? I went to college. I didn't finish. I didn't finish it. But what I did do was I said, okay, I'm not going back. And that's as of now. Who knows what the future holds, right?
Right.
Knows what I'm talking. But what I did do was I knew I didn't have that deposit to give to my kids, right? To show them, hey, I'm a college graduate, And due to life circumstances, and I'm not making an excuse, but because of life circumstances, I made a choice to go a different route. But one thing I made sure that I was going to do was I said I was going to be successful. I was going to put some things into place. And then I made sure that I was going to have some relationships and be connected to people who had those deposits. And because of what I've done in my life, because of what my wife has done, and because those that they've had the opportunity to be around, and because we've spoke legacy into their lives, she's going off to school. Our son, which is our middle child, he's in college right now, and we're excited for him. We know he's going to heist up that college degree as well. And the reason I shared that is sometimes you've heard me say, well, you have to model it. Well, I didn't necessarily model graduating from college, right? But I modeled some other things that show victory in such a way that they could take the principles from those things and use them in the areas where they needed to be. And so those that are watching, some of the things that you're going to be modeling, you may have not done, right? Now, for me, the reason I made that remark is I was thinking, and it was this past year, I was just thinking, I was like, man, what's keeping me from finishing college? Now, it's been over 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years. Yeah. But I just say, you know what? Nothing's stopping me from finishing. So I just made I want to finish it. The one thing I do, I talk about to my kids, to my family, to my friends. I like, man, we have to be finishers. And I just thought, I just want to finish it. I need to finish it. Not for anybody, but for myself. So sometime in 2023, I'm going to enroll back into college, and I'm going to finish and graduate and accomplish that. And who knows, me and my daughter, we may be graduating in the same year. You never know, man. We might have to have a double graduation, right?
I got a double graduation coming up. I have two double graduations.
We know. Don't make me start sweating right now, right? Mm-hmm. Give me a little time. But just to someone out there, it's not too late. And legacy will help you with that, right? I thought about all of the people that I've had the opportunity to speak in front of. I've spoken churches, I've spoken at juvenile detention centers, prisons, colleges, high schools. I've spoken in the community, and I think about all of the vast number of people that I've had a chance to speak to. And then I thought about, just that the people that I'm going to get to speak to. I want to be able to say that I went back and I finished.
Yeah.
Even after all those years, it's a personal something that I have to complete.
Fulfillment.
Yeah. And so somebody on here, man, it's been a minute for some things, but I want you to know it's not too late. And why not start it this year? I know I said it in 2023. Only reason is we have some things we got to get done this year. Be it not for those things, I would start this year. But, you said, hey, you know what, that resonates with me. And once again, I'm going to ask you the question, why is legacy important, right? I'm going to read a verse of scripture to you from the book of Joshua. I love the book of Joshua. I love Joshua and just the different lessons that are in this particular book. But in Joshua chapter 4, verses 67, it says, this shall be a sign among you when your children ask later, saying, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall say to them that the waters of the Jordan were cut out before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When they crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall become a memorial to the sons of Israel forever. And the way it starts off, it says, this shall be a sign among you when your children ask later. I don't know if you have kids or what. My kids, they always asking questions, right? Always. But more on a serious note, there are some things in our lives they ask us, and we can tell them this happened and this is happening specifically because of what God did. And because God said to do this, we did this, and now we're reaping the benefits of it. And it's going to serve as a memorial that not only are we telling our children, but they'll be able to tell their children. And it'll be a part of our legacy. And so we can see that from the scripture. So how much more should it be for you? Last week we asked why, what is a legacy? This week we're asking why, but last week we were asking what is legacy? And we read where God said in Proverbs 13:22, well, a good man leaving an inheritance for his children's children. In other words, God said, I'm gonna put the responsibility on you to do something. I want you to leave a legacy for them, right?
Right.
And our family, our kids, there are some legacies that we want to leave, for them. And there are some things that we want to model for them. And one of the ways we talked about it from last week was we said we weave our faith into every aspect of our life, our home, and our family. In other words, this is not just something we do on Sundays and Wednesdays. This is an everyday part of life. And I was sharing with you, even from a faith aspect, I understand you may not be a believer like us, but there are some principles or some practices that you have in life. If we're talking about legacy, they need to be not just a part of one specific portion, but they need to be a part of the whole portion of your life. And so for us, our faith is everything. Our faith is the most important thing that we have going on in life, and we don't separate it from anything that we do, right? And I think because we've taught that and we've lived that, our family is where it is. Our children are where they are. Yeah. They had a chance to see it and hear it day in and day out, and they understand whatever they do, it needs to be a part of it. And we call it's our fabric, right? Yeah. There was a time where fabric had a different meaning in life. I would hear the stories of my mom and my uncles. They would talk about how they only had a few pair of pants and a few shirts and one pair of shoes, and how it would last. The reason it could last the way it did was fabric was made from something totally different back then. Yeah. It had a durability about it, and it could withstand the different seasons. Now, with the way clothes are made, and not that fabric isn't good now, but the time in which we wear this type of fabric and what it endures, it speaks volumes. And I think a lot of that has to do with legacy, the things that have been implemented and the things that have been seen. So when you hear me talk about fabric, because you are definitely into fashion and your closet is full of a whole bunch of fabrics, right? Yeah. What comes to mind, Nicole, and just even based off of the scripture I read where it says, it's going to be a sign among you. And when your children ask later, right, what do they mean? What do these stones mean? How he could tell them what they meant.
After reading that passage of scripture, what I took away from that was things already set in place and prior to the coming of the people, and all they needed to do was take advantage of what was already there. Mm-hmm. And thinking about the question you just asked about what does fabric mean, everything's tightly sewed together so that it stays as one whole piece. And I think of family and thinking about legacy and how it's important to stay connected.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
because for sure. Legacy it's not about you.
It's not about you.
You're just part of a bigger piece, part of a bigger timeline, because legacy is supposed to be lasting for after you pass on. Yeah. And I was thinking about the question, why is legacy important? And I said that it was the blueprint for inheritance. Having something built that is meant to be passed passed down and should be worked through the hands of the next generation.
Why am I even on the podcast? Why aren't you just doing this podcast by yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. I mean, you got it. I love that. Yeah. Right. See, when you can understand the why of a thing,
know your why.
You got to know your why.
You got to know your why.
I know in our family, this sidebar, you know, from mom to you, your sister, I'm always asking y'all, okay, why?
Yeah.
You want to do this? You want to go here? Why? Yeah. You want to do this? Why? You want to buy this? Why? You want to go to this college? Why? Like, why is the foundation of it, right? And when you talk about legacy and you can understand the why, that legacy will sit on that why.
I want to touch base on that real quick because there are a few things you talked about that I really want to talk about. First, knowing your why and talking about college. From personal experience, it was a journey to figure out, first of all, what to look for in a college. And then after figuring it out, the college admissions process. And it was nothing that you should be scared of, but it's just a lot to take in. It's a lot of responsibility and a lot of important things that need to happen before you can get to the, going off and making those fun memories and stuff. You want to go to a college that checks off the boxes that are necessary for your life, because every college is a good college. No college is a bad college. It depends on what experiences you need to have to be able to fulfill whatever purpose you have on this earth. And another thing I want to talk about was speaking legacy and talking about my dad and how he just said he wanted to go back to college. Legacy doesn't just affect children, it affects the people who are supposed to pass on the legacy.
Yeah.
It can cause them to go back and fulfill those goals from themselves that, maybe, like 20 years ago, they didn't think to go back and do. And I think that's something that should be taken away from this podcast, because it's not just for future generations too. Everyone benefits from it, because
yes, it does.
The older generation depends on the new, and the new depends on the older generation. It's never just independent, it's codependent.
Right.
Yeah.
When you say that about college, I think that's another thing when you say legacy. When you look in a lot of families, you'll find that, hey, the grandparents, the parents, and the children, the grandchildren, they all went to the same university because it's a legacy.
Yeah.
We have family that's from Louisiana that we served in ministry with, and a lot of them have ties to Southern University.
Yeah, a lot of them.
A lot of them do, and obviously, for those that know, my dad, he went to Southern. He played ball for Southern. So you see family legacy, like we all go to this school, we all go to this institution. Or you may see a family of teachers.
Exactly.
Like everybody in the family are teachers or administrators. So legacy, it expands outside of so many different areas, right? And I think we can learn from those. I love that. What's wrong with that?
Sometimes it can turn into it kind of, because there's a difference between supporting your kids and allowing them to make their own decisions rather than making their decisions for them, saying this is the college you're going to go to because your parents went in here.
Well, I think you should go to Paul Quinn. I mean, listen, hey, watch your mouth on the podcast now. No. Don't shy on the Tigers. I know. I'm just joshing.
It's because hearing about our family ties to Southern University, Dad didn't go to Southern University. He went to Paul Quinn, and he still is carrying on the family legacy that was given to him. So you don't have to go to the same place to have the same impact. You can go different places and make a bigger impact.
Yeah,
you're supposed to branch out. That's the whole point.
Right. Absolutely. That's an important point. I hope parents and kids, families, whatever. We're using college as this example, but it's in anything. We talked about, and like I said, legacy can be those things that are so big, those things that are small. Like the town I grew up in, it's a big sports town. A lot of my family members, a lot of my friends played sports. A lot of them went off to go do great things. And it's a big sports town. And I grew up in that era. And a part of my life leaving home, I was just bit by that bug too. I wanted to be a part of the whole going away, going off to school, doing that, being for sports. And I did, right? But I knew when I became a father, understanding purpose, man, I wasn't gonna put any pressure on my son to try to fill my shoes or fall into that type of legacy, right?
Yeah.
I do believe as parents, we need to expose, right? There are some things that you don't know, so you may expose them to it to find out what their bent or what their likes are. And so, sure enough, my son early on, he did play sports. But me and my wife, we made an agreement. We weren't going to shut it down and start. We weren't going to make him do it. And if he decided he wanted to do something else, we were going to support it 100%. And sure enough, when the season and the time came, he decided to do something else, and we was on board 100%, right?
Same
And
thing.
yeah, same thing with you too. Man, this girl was, well, we won't go there, but she played sports for and was very good, but she knew it was like, that's not part of my legacy. That's not going to be part of my legacy of what I'm going to do. And once again, we wholeheartedly supported you. And I think it's important, right? So legacy, you have to put it on the scale and weigh it, right?
Yeah.
And you were talking about the different generations. What it weighed for my generation, it may not weigh that for you. But if I'm trying to have a cookie cutter way and just like, hey, this is what it weighs, and you have to make this weight, I don't believe that's fair. So, and I think it takes unnecessary pressure off of us, right?
Yeah.
Because I could put pressure on you to do a thing that's not in your heart.
And that takes away opportunities.
Yeah, we don't want to do that,
Yeah.
right? Legacy, that to me, that's not legacy, that's slavery.
Yeah.
And we ain't into slavery.
Yeah, that's not.
You understand? Yeah, we ain't into slavery. So we want to be sober about it.
Yeah.
And we want to really, really be open. That's another word, be open to it. Now, let me say this as well, as relates to being the parent, guardian, and the child. There are some things I believe as the parent, there are some things you should see, and there are some things you should enforce, right? But also be open to hear from your children.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing, pray about it. See, I think what worked so good with this is we were always praying, right? And then when you became old enough and understood how to pray, we encourage you, pray, ask God to show you, ask God to lead your steps, guide your steps, right? Order your steps. We believe in that. And God definitely did that.
Yeah,
This has been a team effort,
Yeah.
It's been a team effort. And I think because we've all done our part, it's made this process so much easier for all of us, right? And the main thing is we want you to be successful. We want you to be happy. And I think when you do that or have an approach, it can help, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can help. And I think, man, this is just like some great information. I would have loved to have been on a podcast or have this kind of conversation with my mom. I think it would have helped ease some tension in our relationship. And when I say tension, I don't mean it in a negative. My mom is like, she was one of the smartest, not women, but just persons I know. She told me, I'm talking legacy, everything that she told me I'm doing in life or have done in life. Now, the things she told me, she didn't do any of them.
Yeah.
She didn't do any of them. But she was wise enough and she had a relationship enough with God. I mean, she could hear everything that she told me. I've have either done it or I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
And so it's good to be plugged in. Now, there was a season in my life, some of the things I hadn't really accepted or believed, right? And that wasn't on my mom, that was on me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's cool, Mom, but I think there's some other things I really want to do. But you have to learn how to partner, right? And so there are some things I believe Nicole should be doing in college, but then there are some things that she's focused on doing. And so because it's her life, I trust God in the situation. I'm going to be here for wisdom, guidance as she needs it, be praying for her, right? And where I can implement and give information, I will, but I won't overstep my boundaries because she needs to know and understand what her purpose, is. But then we've taught them that whatever they go off and do in life, even when they get married, there is a family legacy that we have as a family.
Yeah.
And she's always going to be a part of that, right? Yeah. And so that's the main thing for us. That's the main thing for us. So we ask you why is legacy important? And we've been talking about why legacy is important, whether it was about school, careers, wealth. It's so many different things, right? But really, when you think about legacy, your legacy is all about things that you're doing for others, right? Yeah. And obviously, some of the things that you do for yourself, but the legacy should have some positive effects on others as well. Yeah. And, I grew up doing that. We've instilled that in our family, my wife and I. And I think it comes to a question where you're going to have to decide on the legacy that you want to give. Yeah. When I talk to my kids, it's fun talking to them when they say, hey, I'm going to get married and I want to have 2 kids and I want to have this when I'm in my marriage. I want to travel. I love hearing those things because all of those things are part of the legacy that we talked about, right? But more importantly than that, just from an individual basis, when you begin to think, you're going to have to decide on a legacy that you want to give. Yeah. It's not just going to pop itself out the ground. You're going to have to make a decision on it. And so we got a couple of things we want to share with you on how will you decide on a legacy that you want to give. One of the ways you can do to help you decide on what kind of legacy you want to give, you can support the people and causes that are important to you, right? Yeah. And so for us as a family, we support a bunch of faith-based work. We support other ministries. We support other men and women of God who are doing things in the earth that we support and we believe in. And when I say support, we support financially, yes. Right? We support financially. Yeah. Some of those ministries we're able to partner with, and we physically give our time, we give our talent, right? And because we believe in them, and some of those are models for things that we'll do later on in life, right? Yeah. So that's one way you can do it. Do you have one of the ways you can do it, Nicole?
Yes. Be a mentor to others. And I just want to touch base on this real quick because I just finished my mentorship with one of the most genuine, amazing people that I've met, and her name is Miss Shavonna Scriber.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought you were going to say me. Miss Shavonna, you still in my thunder on the podcast? No, I'm just joshing. Much love, Miss Shavonna.
Much love to you. She was a major contributor to
definitely. Oh, for sure.
me going into business marketing because
for sure.
She took on the role as a mentor because for the program that I'm in, we are required to have a mentorship in a field that we're interested in.
Right.
And God blessed us with Ms. Shavonna. And throughout the whole experience, it was just, revelation after revelation. And I could just see myself in that position, not necessarily in marketing, I might branch out and do other things, but running a business and seeing that hands-on, in-person experience.
For sure.
And I remember the first day I walked into the office and she had a picture of a plant. It was a child and it was it had a head for a plant. And the mentor was the watering pot and it was pouring into the plant. She says, I'm going to pour into you and I'm going to teach you so that when you're older and you have your own business, you can teach others. And I was just wow, because that is something I want to do, considering how passionate, not just me, but my whole family is to giving back. And that's definitely something I want to do, create a mentorship program to help other kids, not necessarily in business, but to figure out what their purpose is. And that's going to be part of my own legacy. Yeah. And that's part of our legacy as a family.
Oh, for sure.
It's not in business marketing, but It's in giving family the aid that they need to get that jump start to figure out their own legacy.
It's life.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yes, it is.
It's life. And I'll tag right along with you on that one. Another way to decide on a legacy, you do it by sharing your blessings with others.
Yeah.
Like me and your mom knew when we met with Miss Shavana before you started. Like I said, we've been praying, we've been talking. The time came for you to do it. We understood that it was gonna be a specific waterer that you needed to be submitted to.
Yeah.
And when we met with Miss Shavana, we knew she was the right waterer, right? I know that's not proper grammar, but she was the correct and the right waterer to jumpstart, to inspire, and to spark those things that are on the inside of you. And we had no doubt that you were going to be the better for it, right? And so we're thankful to her. Shout out to Miss Shavana. We thank you for everything that you did for our baby girl. And not just her, all of the young lady and the young men that you're mentoring. So keep up the great work, Miss Shavana.
Yes.
But another way is sharing your blessings with others. One thing we knew we had to do growing up, we were going to teach our kids to be servant leaders. And I grew up doing that, and it's some of the most fondest times of my life, being able to give to others, sharing my gift, working, serving, and partnering with other people. So we have to share the blessings that we have. And when I say blessings, I know a lot of times it's watered down to money or finances. If you're blessed to give those things, definitely give them, because those things are needed. There are times where people, they need a hand up. They need some money, to meet a need or to make a change in life. And if you have it, you're able to do it, definitely do it. When we look at Miss Bezos, when she blessed Prairie View with $50 million, she could do it because she had those means. And trust me, that was a blessing to Prairie View.
Yeah.
And so it's nothing against that. But I'm not just talking about money. I want to focus on these two. I want to talk about your treasure. Mm-hmm. I mean, not your treasure, because that's your money. I want to focus on your time, and I want to focus on your talent. Those two get overlooked more than anything.
Yeah.
Just taking the time to spend, help, support. Your time is so important. And when you take out of your time to give to others, it's so needed and it's so much appreciated, right? Yeah. I remember times in my life where I needed not necessarily money, but I needed someone to spend that time with me, right? And help me in areas, right? And so it is so very needed. And then the last one is your talent. God has given all of us talents, and he didn't give those talents to us just for ourselves, right? You share your talent, man, you never know who you're going to inspire, motivate. And I never would have thought that I would get phone calls, text messages, DMs, emails about how I'm inspiring and have inspired people's lives. Is always a humbling for me. Just not in a million years I ever thought that I would have that type of impact on people. But when you share and you have the type of heart and focus the way I do, it's going to happen, right? You talked about being a mentor. Also, you got to pursue your passions, because when you pursue your passions, they are very infectious, right? So when I'm in my element doing what I do, I already know that I'm going to inspire people. I'm going to make people passionate about what they love in life. And it's infectious. It spreads. What's on me is going to get on you, right? Yeah. And so when you talk about legacy, all of those things are part of it, right? See, when I heard Dr. King speak, it motivated something in me. When I heard Nelson Mandela speak, it motivated something in me. When I heard Dr. Miles Monroe speak, it motivates something in me even now. When I hear Tony Dungy speak, it motivates me, right? When I hear myself speak, I motivate me, because now I'm in a place where I understand who I am, and I understand I'm not necessarily the student anymore. I'm the teacher, right? And all of those things are part of legacy. Those men that I just named, they all have incredible legacies. And obviously there are many, many more I can name. But when you think about those men and what they contributed to life and to people, to families and communities, when I hear Bishop T.D. Jakes speak, man, it's like I want to get up and run through walls. It's very motivating. And when you find the thing, the passion, your purpose, legacy in life, it'll move you in that way. So legacy is so important, right? It's so important. It's so important. Man, I don't know about you, but I have enjoyed this series, man. I'm gonna hate for it to end. So maybe we should just keep it going. Do you want to be my what did you say? You just want to wait to go to college one more year?
No.
And stay here and be my co-host?
No, I'll be your co-host, but I'm not waiting one more year.
You're not gonna wait one more year? Okay. Hey, I shot my shot, man. So it didn't work. No, this is good. For us, this is just purpose. It's part of our legacy. So this is fun for me. I hope you're being blessed by it. I want to read another scripture to you, and we'll get out your way for this episode. But in Psalm 145:4, it said, "One generation shall commend your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts." A generation will never, ever be able to commend your works to another if we don't put the work in place for them to commend.
Exactly.
It's legacy. And I'm going to ask you the question we asked you last week. What would be your legacy? I hope this series that it begins to get your wheels to turn, begin to get you to think in a way that you haven't thought. And you like, out of all the things you could start that you're talking about, or being a coach and mentoring, why would you start with legacy? Legacy is so important. You can't talk legacy and not talk purpose. When you know your purpose and you know your why, and then you're in a family and y'all know that together, you can begin to change and shift atmosphere, families, communities, places, and things that need to be shifted. Like I said, this is so life-giving being on here with you, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity to serve you, both of us, Yeah. If you think this is something, you should hear the conversations off the camera. They're just as passionate. And I got to the point where I understood that even from my kids, I'm not just a teacher, I'm also a student. So I learned so many things from them because I want to perfect this legacy so well. And in order for me to do that, you can't just be the teacher, you also have to become the student. So yeah. I learned so much from them, and they make me better. And I hope I make them better. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have. I'm not sure. This might not be the place to talk about it, but hopefully. Yes, you have. I'm just saying, oh, she said I did, so I guess so. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, well, listen, we're out of time. And as we always say on every podcast, it's strength for today, sustenance for tomorrow. Listen, it's your boy H2O, and it's your girl Nicole. Oh man, thank you so much for partnering with us. Listen, we have 2 more episodes. Don't miss. Listen, like, share. Listen, share this with everybody, and listen. Be sure to go follow us on Spotify. Type in the New Balance Podcast. It'll come up. Go to Apple Music. Type in the New Balance Podcast. It'll pull us up. We're also on YouTube. We're on Google Play. It's not Google Play. It's Google Podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts. We're also on Anchor. Listen, wherever it's streaming, we're trying to be on it, right? We believe we have something to say. And once again, New Balance Podcast, from your potential condition of much love. Thank you. We'll see you when you see you. Peace. Peace.